Hook. You ever have one of those days where you think you're just going home to peace and quiet, but instead, the cops are at your door because your neighbor decided you don't belong there? That's exactly what happened to me when I returned to my own ranch. What this so-called HOA Karen didn't know was that I'm not just any homeowner. I oversee every HOA in America. And the moment she tried to take me down, she had no idea her entire world was about to turn upside down. Stick with me, because this story is going to take you through shock, heartbreak, and the sweetest victory you'll ever hear. The sun had just begun to dip below the horizon when I pulled into the long driveway of my family ranch. For me, this wasn't just a house, it was a piece of my soul. My late father built it with his own 2 hands, and every corner of the land carried memories of laughter, sweat, and love. After years of traveling for work, I was finally coming back home for good. I stepped out of my truck and took in the smell of fresh grass, the sound of crickets, and the cool evening breeze. I barely had a moment to exhale before I noticed her, a woman standing at the edge of my property, arms crossed, lips pursed so tight you'd think she was chewing lemons. She marched right up to me without a word of kindness. "Excuse me," she barked, "you can't just park that thing here. This is an HOA neighborhood, and we have standards. Who even gave you permission to enter this property?" For a second, I thought she was joking. But her sharp glare told me she was dead serious. "This is my ranch," I said calmly, trying to hold back a laugh. "I've owned it for over a decade. I just returned." Her eyes narrowed, and without hesitation, she pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the cops. We don't allow strangers to just move in without HOA approval. You'll be out of here by tonight." I felt my chest tighten. Not because I was afraid of the police, but because this was my father's land, my legacy. The thought of anyone questioning my right to be here dug deep. Within minutes, 2 squad cars rolled in. The flashing red and blue lights cut across the yard I grew up playing in. The officers were polite but firm. "Sir, we got a report that you're trespassing. Do you have proof you live here?" My heart pounded. Memories of family dinners, my father teaching me to ride a horse, my mother planting her rose garden, all of it flashed before me. I handed them my deed and identification. It took only seconds for them to see the truth. "Looks like everything checks out," one officer said, turning to Karen. "Ma'am, this is his property." Her face went pale, but instead of apologizing, she doubled down. "Well, then I'll be reporting him to the HOA board. We'll see how long he lasts here. People like him don't belong in our neighborhood." What she didn't know, what she couldn't possibly have guessed, was that while she saw me as just another homeowner, my career had taken me to a very different position. I wasn't just part of an HOA. I was the national director who oversaw every HOA in the country. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. She wasn't just challenging me as a neighbor. She was challenging the very values of community, respect, and fairness I had sworn to protect. The following morning, I sat on my porch sipping coffee, looking out at the land that was rightfully mine. The phone call came quickly. My assistant had already informed me that complaints had been filed against my name with the HOA board. And guess who filed them? Karen. But here's the thing about people like her, they don't just file complaints. They thrive on control, fear, and intimidation. She had done this to other neighbors too, weaponizing HOA rules to bully families into submission. Some had even moved away because of her. I wasn't going to be one of them. Later that week, the HOA held its meeting. Karen strutted into the room like she owned the place, already whispering to a few board members. She didn't notice me until I stepped to the front of the room and introduced myself, not just as a homeowner, but as the overseer of the HOA system across America. The silence was deafening. Her eyes widened, and for the first time since we'd met, her confidence cracked. "Ladies and gentlemen," I began, "this community was built on values of respect and fairness. But it seems some individuals here have forgotten those principles. The role of an HOA is not to bully or harass, but to uplift and protect the people who call this place home." The board members nodded. They'd seen enough of Karen's antics. And when I laid out the evidence of her history of harassment, letters, complaints, and testimonies from neighbors who finally felt safe to speak, her reign of intimidation came crumbling down. The board voted unanimously to strip her of any authority she thought she had. She was fined for false reports and warned that any future harassment would result in legal action. As the meeting ended, a neighbor walked up to me with tears in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "We've lived in fear of her for years. You've given us back our community." That night, as I stood on my porch under the stars, I thought about my father. He always told me, "Son, land doesn't just belong to us, we belong to it. Protect it, respect it, and protect the people who share it with you." Karen had tried to strip me of my dignity and my home. Instead, she gave me the chance to stand up for something far greater. Direct hit. Final message, inspiring outro. Sometimes, life throws you into battles you never asked for. But when you stand up with truth, with dignity, and with courage, no bully, no false authority, and no intimidation can ever take away what's rightfully yours.